Why ride a motorcycle when you can drive a car? Risk life and limb perched atop a speed machine on two wheels rather than sit safely sealed, comfortably cocooned inside a steel box with four? And why say with many expressive words that which could be said with a few simple ones? Two questions that are not too dissimilar, two questions that I've been asked more than once. Arguably, neither motorcycling nor expressive writing are strictly necessary, not like a roof over your head or your bread and water. Get the bus or take the train or text in 21st century shorthand with smileys and BRBs and WTFs, it all gets the job done quickly, efficiently, but where's the nourishment? A pot noodle and a Diet Coke is quick and efficient, but a slow cooked beef stew with a side of vegetables, that's what your body wants, what it needs. A car gets you there, but a motorcycle gets you here. The plain thing gets heard, but the poetic thing, it gets felt. And there's a line along which both riding and writing walk, a line between awake or asleep, alive or dead, earthly or divine. The answer to both questions lies, I think, somewhere in amongst a mesh of ideas about presence, impermanence, self-expression, and the great reach that C.S. Lewis called the inconsolable longing for we know not what. Or maybe it's just the thrill, the rush, the going fast and having fun. Maybe I'm reaching with this whole premise. We'll each have to decide for ourselves. Motorcycling is hard to categorise. For commuters, it's in the same category as buses and trains. For sports fans, MotoGP is just F1 on two wheels. For daredevils, it's a snowboard or a parachute. What about for the romantics, the writers, the dancers, or the ones who are predisposed to a bit of good old-fashioned melancholy? What category is it in for them? The house I grew up in had a road close by, one that I'd travelled 1,000 times, etched into memories like the creases on my palm. Every twist and turn, every sprawling straight and bad corner, every blind bend and sneaky spot the cars would creep out of when you least expected. It was my favourite road for a blast on the bike. Dusk in the late spring was the best time to ride it, when the midges and the dragonflies danced in the golden light before making a mess on my visor. The air was mild and thick with that delicious scent that only the spring can offer, of the warm grass and the cherry blossoms as they tucked in for bed, ready for the evening dew. 1 mile of lazy curves, just a shallow snake that I could see right to the end of, shallow enough for me to pin the throttle at full twist and at 60 miles an hour gently tip my weight from side to side as I sliced through, crossing the dotted white line in the middle of the road every few seconds, kissing the peaks of the grass verges at the crest of each bend, totally and utterly immersed in the ebb and the flow. Completely calm, perfectly poised. Was I riding or dancing? And if it could be considered dancing, then what does that make motorcycling? Or for that matter, snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking, surfing, or, and the clue's in the name here, but what about martial arts? All activities that seem to resist the natural rules and boundaries that govern traditional sports, that all seem to lean into more of a fluid expressiveness rather than being goal-orientated. When a skateboarder flows through a concrete bowl, aren't they sort of painting? Etching a line through the park using concrete and gravity as their medium, the board the brush, the skate park the canvas, the skater themselves both a kind of artist and a kind of artwork. Am I reaching? Suspend disbelief for a minute and let's say that I'm not. Let's say that there is something more to these pursuits, that they do have a kind of dance in them, that we are writing a verse, singing a song. What then is the music of motorcycling? A musician works with tempo, rhythm, dynamics, the build and release of tension, moments of dissonance, then resolution. Is there not a sort of parallel with riding? A shared lineage, the steady rhythm of straights, the sharp staccato of tight corners, the tension in the lean, the resolution in the exit, the crescendo of acceleration between the bends, the diminuendo of braking before them? Is it not a kind of composition and improvisation in the mode of physics, the scale of movement? Some riders, jazz players, loose and improvisational, others classical, precise and technical, some rock stars amongst us, all power and attitude and loud exhausts. Music in motion, surely. A symphony of speed, each rider expressing something through the medium of momentum. And what of this expression? What are we expressing? Well, maybe it's something that words can't touch. Maybe we can't say with words what some express with the clothes they wear or how they style their hair. Maybe writing is a way to carve our individuality into the world without grammar or syntax or 26 measly letters, but with throttle, lean, poise and style. Identity, Whitman said. The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. Some contribute theirs through the traditional arts, others through the way they build things or grow things or care for people, solve problems. Some through graffiti, baking, candlestick making, pick your poison, and some pick motorcycling. Unlike with music or painting or writing or reading good writing, such a core tenet of these and of riding a motorcycle is the falling so effortlessly into that illustrious, enchanting experience of utter presence. The jazzman might call it being in the pocket, the athlete calls it in the zone, others might know it as flow state, when our ordinarily scattered attention is gathered into a singular pin-sharp point of focus, all yesterday's happenings forgotten, all tomorrow's best laid plans laid to rest. We get that when we're riding, don't we? The approach, the braking zone, the lean, the line, the exit. The same magic you feel when you come across a passage in a book that stops you dead, makes you forget that you're reading words on a page, and transports you completely into another world, another's consciousness. That edge, that precipice, the pocket, the zone, the flow state, don't we just want to live right there? Is it any surprise that surfers move to the beach? And what are we doing when we're there? When you tip into that corner, eyes on the exit, knee pointed at the ground, trusting, praying that your tires maintain their grip to see you through the bend. If they don't, you're mashed potato. If they do, well, then you'll do it all again at the next corner. That sublime submission, the sweet surrender, laying it all on the line for this feeling we so crave. What is the state we chase, this dream state, somehow in between worlds? And is it the same thing? Does it spring from the same source as that swell in your chest and lump in your throat when you hear a piece of music that grips you so tight your breath catches? Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, Cat Stevens' Father and Son, the Righteous Brothers' Unchained Melody, or for the higher brow, Gustav Holst's Jupiter, When I Vow to Thee My Country nearly splits you open, or Claude Debussy's Clair de Lune draws a stream of tears down your face, or Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor makes you desperately mourn for someone or something that we know not what. What is this longing, this reaching, this gentle brush of the transcendent, this peeking through the veil? As a religious agnostic and a spiritually underqualified, I can't help but wonder, are we Michelangelo's atoms stretching our finger just that last half an inch, just for one tiny sliver in time, one fleeting moment? And fleeting it is, it always is. You can't stay in the pocket, you can't live in flow. We are ultimately of the earth, not the heavens. But I posit that is too what gives these juicy fruits their juiciness, that they are not ours to keep. When you ride over the crest of a hill that reveals a vast picture of mountains and forest and ocean that not even your memory will do justice, never mind a photograph. A rolling landscape decorated with soft sunlight sneaking through gaps in the cloud. A feast for your eyes, and your heart is sore. Physically, literally sore. It's painfully beautiful. Something about the magnitude actually hurts. For those few seconds, a combination of circumstances that will never quite exist again, that paint the world in front of you just so, just for you, and just for right now. And before you can fully drink it in, you're too far down the hill to have another look. Experience relegated to memory the very moment you have it. Or when you watch through the kitchen window as your daughter plays in the garden and the dog dances around her, tail wagging, ears flapping, and out of nowhere you're filled with an immense happiness and an immense sadness at the very same time. A stab of joy. What is that? The closest English word, it seems, is poignancy. But can that visceral human experience really be reduced to a word? Of course not even close. Like so many other wonders of our outer world and of our inner worlds, the language tries its best, but it comes up short. Words can't touch it. All we can do is try to find the best one. Or if you're C.S. Lewis, you spend your whole life trying to find the words. Maybe a few hundred years of industrial, scientific and rational progress, necessary as it's been, maybe it's given us the false impression that everything can be explained with words, with names, science or reductionist rationalism, a phrase I'm hearing more and more. Terence McKenna once gave this elegant example. Imagine an infant lying in its cradle. The window is open and into the room comes something marvellous, mysterious, glittering, shedding light of many colours, movement, sound, a transformative hierophany of integrated perception, and the child is enthralled. Then the mother comes into the room and she says to the child, "That's a bird, baby. That's a bird." Instantly, the complex wave of the angel peacock iridescent transformative mystery is collapsed into the word. All mystery is gone. The child learns this is a bird. This is a bird. And by the time we're 5 or 6 years old, all the mystery of reality has been carefully tiled over with words. This is a bird. This is a house. This is the sky. And we seal ourselves in within a linguistic shell of disempowered perception. Whoa. Education teaches us how to make sense of the world in rational terms, but is it up to us to relearn that which it makes us forget? That there are still more mysteries than answers? That there's still more that we don't know than that which we do? To relearn that this is ultimately a mystical experience we're having that we call life? To paraphrase Susan Cain, poignancy is the richest feeling humans experience, one that gives meaning to life, and it happens when you feel happy and sad at the same time. It tends to come during precious moments suffused with their imminent ending. My daughter playing with the dog and the feast for my eyes and hurt for my heart as I crest the hill and I'm struck with awe, both deliver such a gorgeous gut punch because they are impermanent. The clouds will be a different shape the next time. Tomorrow, when I look out the window, my daughter will be one day older, one day closer to being all big and grown. Like I said, a mesh, a soup of ideas about presence, impermanence, self-expression, and the great reach. And I dare say I may have reached far here, I may have lost some along the way. I dare to reach anyway. But should we dare? Should we dare to ride the bike when the car is the more sensible option? Should we dare to express ourselves truthfully, honestly, nakedly in writing, music, art, or day-to-day life when some might smirk and snigger? Should we dare to choose to be vulnerable as we stretch our trembling finger that last half an inch full of fear, uncertainty, trepidation for what infinity we might find if we touch? You, good listener, may consider all this no more than sentimental, self-indulgent bile, and you are quite within your right to think that. It's all very serious and philosophical, and I'm aware that not everyone experiences life the same way. But my hope is that there's also those who find some truth in these musings, some connection in these words, in my small self-expression, in this little verse that I contribute. To borrow from Ethan Hawke, when we are overwhelmed with joy or with pain and we find ourselves desperate for making sense out of this life, asking, has anyone ever felt like this before? What is happening to me? That's when art is not a luxury, it's sustenance. We need it. Some rare times we can find our own experience reflected back to us in a song or in a stanza, a length of open road or a video on the internet. And that recognition, that soft acknowledgement that says, I see you, that communion, well, it can make all the difference. We are the meaning makers. We get to choose the meaning we make. And life, I feel, is a great deal richer when you choose to see the art of things, the art in things. So I choose to believe that motorcycle riding and activities like it are a kind of art, a kind of dance. I choose to believe that it is an attempt to quench the human thirst for being right here, right now, to satisfy our need for some kind of self-expression. I choose to believe that it is a great reach for that which we know not what, and a verse contributed to the powerful play, a resolute statement offered up to the open road, the open air, a steadfast assertion, a stake in the ground, a defiant and unwavering voice that speaks clearly the words, I was here, I lived, and in the face of all of life's great beauty and tragedy, I was not afraid to do so.